Hello, everyone. Welcome to TC Band Presents Leveraging AI to Deliver Differential Business Success, Practical AI Strategies for Entrepreneurs and Professionals. My name is Eric Alexander. I'm the founder and CEO of TC Band, and I'm excited to have you all here for this amazing session. Uzoma is coming to us from the UK, and so as we see our next slide regarding TC Band and our global presence, we're definitely exhibiting that from a presenter perspective as well as an attendee and engagement perspective. So I want to take a couple minutes to talk about TC Band, for those who are not as familiar with who we are as an organization. Our goals are to build, advance, network, and develop. TC Band is a global leadership movement advancing Black professionals. We have focus on executive level programming, meaningful networking, and transformative growth. We have over 1,700 members globally. We have representation in over 22 countries. And at over 233 organizations with representation in 37 US states and District of Columbia and across 5 continents. So here is where I stop and say, if you know anyone from Australia or Antarctica, please send them our way. So we'd like to cover all 7 continents. So that's my one joke of the day. I'll try to limit it to 2 just for clarity. So our goal is to shape the next generation of Black leaders together. And we start that by engaging our community, identifying what's relevant from a training and development perspective and what's required to help ensure that our community stays on the cutting edge of technology, change, and are able to achieve their personal and professional goals. And that's why we're here today talking about AI. This is our 3rd or 4th session on the topic of AI, and this is Uzoma's 2nd time talking about AI with us. And so we're excited to have you here today. We're excited to have Uzoma here today. I've seen him in action before, so he'll do an amazing job of walking through the content and sharing it in a way that's easily digestible and actionable for our attendees. So Uzoma is a digital marketing analyst and AI specialist with over 10 years of experience helping businesses turn marketing into measurable revenue. He specialized in lead generation, paid media, and marketing automation, working with founders and growing SMEs to build predictable customer acquisition systems. Uzoma has supported over 1,000 entrepreneurs through consistently delivering results like lower cost per lead and higher conversion rates. His work combines AI, strategy, and practical execution, helping businesses save time, scale faster, and compete more effectively in today's digital economy. And so I'll hand it over to Uzoma shortly, but he's from the UK, as I mentioned, and he may or may not be the cousin of someone we might know on the call. And so I can't confirm or deny, but I'm sure we all see the resemblance there. So with no further ado, I'll hand it over to Uzoma.
Thanks, Eric. I don't know how you get away with that joke. It is. I know you cannot confirm or deny. I can certainly deny, but okay, we won't go there. Thank you so much, Eric, and thank you so much to the board of TC Band for having me back again. I really appreciate it. I think I can actually say I've known you, I think it's years now because the first presentation was, I think, over a year ago, but it's good to be back and good to be reaching you all the way from actually a very sunny Southeast London today because it's actually the warmest day of the year. So if I think it's about 26 was the top temperature, which is about just under 80 degrees, which is really strange for us for this time of year. We're really not used to that. And thank you so much to all of you for making this part of your day. I know it's still morning or afternoon for some of you. It's just gone past 7 o'clock in the evening here in London. And yeah, really looking forward to sharing some things with you. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. I know the title of today's session was very nice, but I've kind of made it somewhat more straightforward with my slides. I've just said how Black entrepreneurs can use AI to make more money because effectively that's what I really want to focus on doing this evening or this morning or this afternoon, for wherever you are watching me. So thanks again. I'm going to try and cram a lot in. I know time is precious. I know some of you are going to have to go after an hour, but I'm going to go through some things. And the aim is that by the time the hour is up, you'll be able to take at least something and implement it and it should help you either make more money, save some money, or save you some time. It should be able to do that because if it saves you time, obviously time is money. So in some way, you're going to have more money in your pocket. And that's the aim of today's session, to save you money, make you money, or save you time. And I really hope that um, as we lock into, there are quite a few of you. So I'm going to try and use some generic examples that will apply to everybody, but also pick out a couple of some of the examples or some of the issues you might be experiencing right now that we can actually implement so you can actually see the demonstration in practical terms. So you actually see it for yourself. So with that in mind, I know there is a poll that Eric has helped me kindly put together. So, Eric, if you wouldn't mind, you could just have that poll up. It's just ask a couple of questions. And the reason why I want you to ask these questions is not so much to know about you personally, but just to make sure that you are, to get an idea of who is using AI and what you're using it for, how you're using it, and to make sure that I'm adapting what I'm doing for you specifically. Because this isn't a generic webinar as such. It's going to be specifically, hopefully, tailored to those of you that are watching right now. Some of you already decided to fill it in. Thank you so much. And obviously, afterwards, there's going to be a Q&A session. So if you can wait afterwards, I'm going to try and cover as many questions as I can and try and address as much as I can, as best as I can, as quickly as I can, cram as much into half an hour. So from what I can see, pretty much everybody uses AI almost on a daily basis. Some of you on a monthly, and some of you quite occasionally, which is good to know. But it seems most of you use it on a daily basis, which is great. It's good to know that you're actually putting it into practice and making sure you're actually getting something out of it. Now, there's another question which would be helpful. I don't know if I think some of you might be answering that now, which is good. Which AI tool you tend to use the most? It'd be really good for you to do that, to use that now. I'm going to try and focus on Chat GPT for this evening so that you can see some things in real time. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I've adapted Claude. I do use Claude, but I've adapted it quite to my style. So I want to make sure that there's something a little bit generic in there for you with ChatGPT that you can actually see. So it doesn't look like it's answering the questions for me, but it's going to be actually based on what you do. A lot of users use Copilot and can understand why, because it's kind of built into the Windows system. And then some of you use ChatGPT, and very few of you, only one person I can see that is actually using Claude, which is interesting. A couple of others using what comes up under other. Great. Anybody else want to answer? I know we've just got a minute on that, but I'll just give it a few more seconds and then we'll get started if you want to answer any more of the questions. But it seems the majority of people using Copilot, which is actually built on the if you like, the software that powers ChatGPT as well, which is pretty good. Okay. All right, I'm going to shut down the poll now. Thank you so much for that. That's really helpful to know that most people are what most of you are using. I'm going to try and focus on this as much as possible. And if there's anything in the chat you need me to see, Eric, please feel free to jump in and let me know. There's a question I've got for you then. It says, how many hours did you spend last week on tasks that didn't directly bring in money? So that could have been your admin, that could have been some other things. And you've wondered, is there a way I could have maybe used AI to make this better? Maybe you'd have thought there's probably a way to use AI to do it, but I just don't know what that is. So if you want to think about that, that might be helpful to you. And in fact, what I'm going to do, because I've got a couple of freebies for you. So I'm going to put the first one in the chat for you. Let me just make sure I've got it right. I've got a worksheet. This is free. You can just download it. I'm going to put this in the chat. Let me know, particularly if you can easily download that. That should open up on your machine and you should be able to do that. And you can use it and follow along with me as we go through this evening's chat. So have a look at that. Eric, maybe just give me a shout if that works for you. And if it works for you, I know it's probably going to work for everybody else.
Yes, I have it open. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm going to keep moving on. So that's the worksheet for you. And I've got another freebie if you hang around long enough. I'm going to make sure I get that to you as well. I focused on Black entrepreneurs in the UK for this stat, but it's probably applicable wherever you're watching from right now, whether you're based in the UK or in the US or even Canada. And that's Black entrepreneurs spend a lot of time and possibly money developing their business, possibly more than any other ethnic group. That's a source from British Business Bank and the Oxford Business School as well. So there's a lot of time and a lot of investment that we put into making our businesses work, sometimes not necessarily seeing the results that we would like. So, what I want to really make sure that you get from this is some kind of, if you like, financial return in the sense that what you'll find is using AI will really help you get some financial benefit if you know how to use it better. And because I know so a lot of you are using it on a daily basis anyway, you're already doing the right things, hopefully. So it's just to show you how you can take what you're doing and use it even more or use it even better than you're currently doing at the moment. So, quick introduction, because I don't want to spend too much time about talking about myself. My name is Zoma. Um, it's a Nigerian name. And for those of you that are aware of Nigerians or that may be a Nigerian yourself, one thing about naming your children, it tends to be almost prophetic. It's almost like we're saying this is what we want you to be in life. And Uzoma is actually, it means the right way, the right path. It's all got to do with the right direction or guidance. So it should come as no surprise to you that I'm going to be talking to you about how I can help you get more out of AI and AI tools. And I tend to help business owners, specifically Black business owners, ideally, to help save money, save time using digital marketing. So that could cover social media, that could cover email marketing, websites, and also AI tools as well. And I've been doing that for well over a decade now. And it's something I'm quite passionate about. There was a time I was talking to a group of people like yourselves, and they said, I think one of the comments I remember hearing was when I said something that I thought was fairly common knowledge and said, nobody told us about this. And it's almost as if the phraseology now is that is used is called gatekeeping. It's almost like the information was kept away from, if you like, the Black community. But now the world is learning about AI almost at the same time. And what I want to make sure that us, particularly as Black business owners that can often be disadvantaged, actually get the information that we need to help us progress in this particular area. And in addition to that, to use it effectively. So, although some of you are using it well, occasionally I hear people say things like, it's not working as well as it used to work, and they wonder why. And I think we might be able to get to the bottom of that in the next few moments or so. So, let's go through this. The reason I brought up this slide is just to make you aware it's not so much that when you're having an issue with AI, that's a skills problem, or even the issue that you might be having with some of the admin or the tasks that you're doing. Not so much a skills problem, but sometimes it's a systems problem. And what do I mean by that? What I'm saying is, I'm not here to just tell you how you can improve your skill, but if you actually have an AI, for one of a better term, system built in to what you do as a business owner, then what you will find is that it actually becomes almost automated, almost something you use automatically. And you actually have something that knows who you are, knows how you think, knows how your tone, knows your voice, knows your kind of client, your kind of customer, knows what your product does, knows the problems your product solves, and the ideal kind of client or the ideal kind of customer that you're looking for in order to make sure that you can actually be most effective to them. And so there's a sort of a realignment because if you're not careful, what you do is you end up trying to focus on the latest tool that everybody's talking about or trying to learn the latest skill. And that's not what I'm trying to make you do today. What I want you to do is look at your business, focus on what your business is, which is why your that worksheet is so important, It focuses you on your business, but how can AI help solve your business problems rather than trying to make you an expert in what AI is? So if you're not familiar with it or you're not comfortable with it, that's absolutely fine. You just need to focus on what the problem is, and together we can collaborate and see how we can get that fixed for you. So I'm going to just focus on my notes. The reason being, um, it's something I may have touched on the last time I did the webinar as well, but I talk about what's called the Pareto principle, um, otherwise known as the 80-20 rule. You'd be surprised, although there's a lot of talk about ChatGPT and Copilot and things like that, it's actually maybe it's not even up to 20% of all that AI contains and all that it talks about. Most of the time in the press, you hear a lot of talk about Copilot, ChatGPT, and all of that, or maybe job losses from AI. And you'll find that a lot of that talk makes up the 80%. And I realized I can talk a lot about that as well without actually giving you the information that you need. So I'm really going to try and focus on my notes so I can stick to time and so I can make sure that I answer the questions that you need. So please do use the worksheet. It's not homework. It's just to make sure that you will walk away with something that actually applies into your business. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to go through a tour of AI tools. I'm not going to just talk about what is trending or things like that. I'm not going to try and just get you too excited about technology. I'm just going to try and show you at least 3 ways to get money back in your pocket, ideally this month. Okay, AI just happens to be the method. AI just happens to be what we're going to use. And so, for those of you that may or not have used ChatGPT, some of you use it regularly, I'm going to promise you that you'll see something in this hour that will hopefully change the way you run your business. Okay. So it doesn't really matter what level of expertise you're at. I'm not going to try and blind you with too much science today. Okay. Okay. So that's literally what I've kind of just said. It's not all of AI tools or what's trending on social media or something to get too excited about technology about. We're just going to try and focus on how you can implement, how you can sell more of what you already sell. I'm assuming you're selling something and how that will make you more money. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 ways. I've tried to keep it to 3 ways so that I can keep within the time. If you feel after this there's still something that maybe we've not touched on, I'd encourage you to stay for the Q&A, or I will show you a way that we can work one-on-one together that can help actually make something that is bespoke for you. Okay? All right. Now, earlier on, as you filled in the form for TC Band, um, you actually ask certain questions. I've tried to pick out a couple of them because I wanted to let you know that I've actually taken some of the information I've learned um, to kind of get an idea. Some of the questions you asked were something about how to advance your business when it's just you, a solopreneur, as it were. How you, even though you've got limited staff, how you can personalize AI to make more out of it. So what sometimes happens is that you use it, but you still have to tweak it a lot to make it sound like you, or how you can actually use it as a personal assistant. And I'm definitely going to cover all of those in this session. Okay, so I'm definitely going to do that. Now, I know some of you asked questions beforehand. I don't know how many of you that ask questions are actually in the session today. So that's why it's a little bit tricky to do that. But what I want to do is I want to actually see if there's someone here that maybe you use an AI already, maybe use Copilot, use ChatGPT, but it maybe sounds generic. It just doesn't sound like you. So you either spend ages, you're editing it, what already has been done, or you stop using it altogether simply because it just wasn't giving you the results that you want. Now, either way, you've looked at it and you thought, I'm wasting a lot of time here because even though it's given me something, I still have to tweak it, or you just thought, I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to um, use what I've already got or tweak it another time or something like that. So what I'm going to do is try and demonstrate something for you using something that using something and to show you how you can get the best out of it. So I'm wondering if there's anybody that is happy in the chat, you'd like to, maybe if that describes you, if you can maybe put up your hand or put in a sentence or two in the chat to let me know, and I can use you to demo to see, to get an idea of what you're doing already and how we can make what you're doing even better than what you've got right now. Okay, is there anybody that can put in the chat, or if you can point yourself out to Eric, I'll be happy to demo with you right now if that's okay. I'm happy to use a generic demonstration, but I think if I can show you how it can be improved, that'll probably be the best way to make it work and how quickly we can do that.
Uzoma, can you specify the specific ask you have for the group?
Say that again.
Can you repeat the ask?
Okay, so I'm looking for someone that maybe you're already using AI, a tool, you're maybe using it to generate content, using it to write emails, but you're finding that it doesn't sound quite like you. So either you stopped using it, or maybe it wasn't getting you the results you wanted, so you stopped using it. Or maybe when it produces something for you, you find you have to do a lot of tweaking to make it sound like you. So that's the kind of person I'm looking for. So maybe you've either stopped using it, or maybe you find yourself tweaking it a lot because it's not quite the way you want it to sound. Does that make sense, Eric? Is that a bit clearer? Yeah.
It does. Do you want to just walk through maybe a generic option? I have that channel that I done that, but I just asked ChatGPT to use my voice, and so it just updates it to my voice based on the historical data that I have online. So that's how I
Mhm.
fix that internally. So maybe that's not a big
Okay.
challenge for our community. So maybe there's another example.
Okay. Let me try something. So you said, so what did you say, Eric? Let's actually use that. What did you actually say? You said you changed it to say to adjust your voice. What did you do exactly?
Yeah, sometimes I'll ask ChatGPT to write, a posting for LinkedIn or something like a post to announce this session, and then sometimes the tone doesn't seem great. Or if I'm writing like a letter to donors or something that needs to be more genuine, it sounds a little bit generic, or it sounds like it doesn't sound like my voice. I'll ask it to speak to when I'll ask it to edit my article or my post, but not to change it from my voice tone. So I'll clarify that I don't want you to rewrite this. I want you to check for grammar errors, tone, tense, those kind of things, but to keep it in my voice. And so not to change it from my voice. And so that's how I prevent it
Okay.
from changing from my voice. I just ask it not to.
Yeah, I'm with you. So basically, you're saying you write and then you essentially use it to spell check if you like, or things like that, or grammar check. Is that kind of what I'm getting from you?
I normally use to refine. I think I'm a pretty good writer, so I generally draft myself, and then I
Fair
use
enough.
ChatGPT for refining it or those kind of things for suggestions, not to create content for me. It sounds like Natalie
Okay.
used it to switch
Yes.
to. I'm sorry, Kimberly looks like she switched to Claude. It sounds like from
Hmm.
her perspective, Claude is better at managing tone, and then it sounds like Natalie um, is sharing that the tool learns her style. So the more she uses it, the more it refines the content to her tone.
I'm with you on both. I agree with both of you. So what I'm going to do is let me kind of do a quick demonstration where we can actually see that in a bit of practice. But I think, yes, I agree with both Natalie and Kimberly. You're both correct in that respect. Um, in terms of using Claude, I think generally speaking, people will agree that Claude tends to get it right first time in terms of writing. So people do tend to prefer Claude in that respect. Can we see the chat GPT screen we've got? So if you can see my chat GPT, what I would suggest, let me try this. I'm going to put on temporary chat. The reason I'm going to use this one is, as Natalie has already pointed out, it does get to know you, but also do you know if it gets to know your customer and your client? Have you built in, for example, a persona for your customer or your client. There was something you said, Eric, that I want to pick up on that I think is really important. You said you write to your donors, but the way that you speak to a donor is different from obviously the way you would speak to someone that you're sending out your generic email, so someone on your mailing list, for example. And what you can do is you can actually build into ChatGPT or Claude the actual personas of the people you're speaking to. So when you actually say, this is an email to a donor, they actually know the kind of person you're talking to, what you're trying to expect, what kind of action you want them to take when you've written that email. Now, obviously, Eric, you said you're a great writer. So, in a sense, I'm not quite talking to you in this particular option, but there is a way to actually make sure that those are actually built in. So, rather than it just learning how, as you use it, you're actually kind of asking it to get it right first time. So, for example, write an email to a prospective customer explaining my range of skincare products. Sorry, that's just a bit off the hoof, just because I know there's no one's giving me an example right this moment. And I don't want to use yours, Eric, because I know you're a good writer and you might not necessarily use this to write for you, but actually to improve what you've got. Now, it's going to generate something fairly generic based on what I've put in there. Some of this may not even apply to my skincare range if I have a skincare range on at the time of putting this together. So you might use some of this, you might tweak it, pull some of those things out. And as Natalie's pointed out, yes, the more you use it, the more it gets to know you. Now, a couple of things. Number one, in Claude, particularly, which I won't bring up now. The reason I won't bring it up is because I've got a lot of my personal things in terms of what I've built into, but there's a skill section there where you can actually build into that, or you can build into what's called a project. And you can say under the project, this is the kind of person I'm talking to. This is what I want to gain from it. And you can actually use Claude to build the personality of the person you want. And you can also say, this is what I expect them to do. So, for example, in your case, Eric, you might say, in this particular email, I'm not looking for them to make a donation now, but I'm warming them up, for example, for when I have a bigger ask next week or next month. Or I want to offer them value in this email so that they're reciprocating when they come back to me in my next follow up email. So, for example, a simple way you can improve this particular prompt. Right. I didn't hear anybody mention this. So let me see if we can go to a new chat and just ask the same thing again. Whoops, let's go to temporary. So I'm going to ask this same thing, but this time I'm going to ask a simple question. Ask me, I'll just keep it to three. Three of your top clarifying questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to assume that ChatGPT knows what I want. I'm going to say, ask me three of your top clarifying questions. And I'm going to ask it to make sure, to ensure you create the best email for my prospective client. So what have I done here? Two things. One, I've asked it to clarify. Now, you can ask it to ask you more questions, but for time's sake, I'm going to just keep it to three. I'm going to ask it for clarifying questions. So it's going to clarify with me exactly what I want to get done in this email. And I want it to ensure that it gives me the best possible email for my prospective clients. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to now send that off. So what it's going to do, first of all, is before it creates the email for me, is it's going to ask who's my target customer. What makes your skincare product different? And what action do I want the reader to take after reading the email? It's kind of what we've just almost touched on very briefly. So already you see it's trying to narrow it down and niche it to a specific kind of person. So now, once I answer those questions, the email that we get now is far more refined. Now, with that kind of information, now you can see it's asking age range, gender, skin concerns. So, in other words, what problems are we going to solve with this? So, if you may not already know, now it's worth asking your version of Claude or Chat GPT those questions. What is the age range of the prospective clients that I deal with? And it might take a guess, or it might say it doesn't even know. And without you putting that information specifically in it, because you may never specifically say, this is the age range of the client I'm looking to talk to, or my age range of my donor, my typical donor, or this is the typical gender, for example. But now with this, it specifically targets that in the email. So if I put that information now, it's going to give me a very different kind of um, response and a different kind of email. So I'm going to say, I'm going to make up some things. I'm going to say 25 to 40. I'm going to say she's black, female, and she's and sensitive skin, and is looking for products specifically for black skin. Okay, let's go to two. What makes it different? I'm going to say results and bespoke for black skin, just because of time. And three, what actions do you want them to take after reading the email? I want them to actually visit the website and make a purchase. And it's interesting that it's asking that and it's giving me examples because without you telling ChatGPT what it is, even though you're sending out your email, you might not be getting the result you want. So maybe people get the email, maybe they open it, maybe they even go to your website, but do they actually spend money? Do they actually buy a product? And if they don't, it could just be because you didn't actually make the email do that and buy a product. So let's see. Now that I've answered those three, and obviously we could have asked more questions, but I've kept it to three. Now that I've answered those and I've done that briefly, it's a different kind of email that comes out, as you can see. Okay, now this is specifically targeting the person that I want. You can have you, and it's now talking to my ideal client because now they read this and they say, "This is exactly for me. This is the person. This is talking to me." I've created this range to change that. Each product is designed specifically for black skin. The focus is simple, improve tone and texture, supports sensitive skin without triggering irritation. So now somebody reads this and they think, this is what I want. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And it even says this isn't a one size fits all approach because by focusing on a particular kind of person, it's actually eliminating some of the people you don't actually want to have your emails necessarily or sell to. Because the person that sees this says, you've solved my problem. I'm now willing to buy. And then it puts in the website link. And hopefully, the aim of this is to ensure now there's less to correct. There's less to actually have to change or to tweak because it gets it right first time. Okay. Because of all the information in there. And then it gives you some of the suggestions as well. Because now you can actually add some other bits there because it says this is what you're trying to do. I can help you if you want those extra bits in there. Okay. And that's just by putting in that extra bit there. Ask me 3 of your top clarifying questions, okay, to ensure that you produce the best email for my prospective client. Okay, there are other bits you can put. Time won't last on that particular segment, but that's really something to be aware of. So, what I would encourage you to do on your worksheet, maybe write down a piece of content that you regularly create. Okay, maybe it's your social media posts, maybe it's your emails to client proposals, and then think about maybe a tweak that you can add to that, maybe highlight the kind of client that you're looking for. Those of you that say it knows you well, I would say go back into it and say, describe my ideal donor. describe my ideal client, my ideal customer, and see if it's accurate, see if it describes it very well. It might even tell you it doesn't know that well. Because if it doesn't know it that well, that means that the emails that it's producing or the products or the content that's producing is not as good as it could be for your client. But the more you actually feed it, not just your style of writing, but your actual person that you're talking to and what the result is from that particular email or content. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to like it? Do you want them to subscribe? Do you want them to follow you? Whatever. And all of those bits. Okay. So let me come off of this for a bit and come back to the slides. I think just looking, I can see Hadisha said this is helpful. Good. I'm glad that's the point. Please do implement it. So in 30 seconds, that actually looks, I think that looks like a very different kind of email to what was produced first of all. So do write on your worksheet, just the difference between a basic prompt and a layered prompt. There are other things you can add to make it very different, depending on what it is. So, for example, you can make your social media targeting a specific kind of person or someone, as we've already talked about as well. And you can also make a note on your worksheet on how you can actually make your prompts improve. So, if you're already writing prompts, how can you improve them? Okay, let's talk about not losing leads. So perhaps you've already got people that are interested in what you do, but they've never actually bought. So they've inquired, they've messaged you on Instagram, someone's attended an event where you were there face to face, someone's been referred to you. And then what happens is nothing, pretty much. You maybe get ghosted or you follow up with them. They don't seem to have the time to get back to you. Maybe you've not got a system that is deliberate and intentional about following up. The thing about that is that's actually money walking out the door. So my question to you is, what happens next? What do you do when somebody inquires about your service? Do you have an actual system in place? So something that you do, you know that this is what you're going to do after a day, after 2 days, after an hour, how quickly you follow up with them? Or does it just depend on when you have time or when you remember to do it? Here's what you can do using an AI tool to make sure that that works really well. Is there anyone that wants to? I've got a generic example that I can use, but if there's anybody that wants to be used as an example, you can put it in the chat real quick and I'll make something happen in a few minutes for you. Anybody want to use an example? Eric, is that something you want to talk about? Otherwise, I've got an example all ready to
Sure,
go.
I can do one. So, one of the things I do as a nonprofit executive is fundraising, and so I do receive inquiries regarding fundraising opportunities. And so, how do I how do I manage cold responses to sponsorship inquiries?
So they
Is that the
ask
same
you,
scenario? Yeah.
yeah, is that so? Let me just be clear. They ask you to fundraise for them. Is that how it
No,
goes?
so a part of my when I do registrations, those kind of things, one of my questions is, are you interested in learning more about sponsorship opportunities? And so then people
Okay.
will opt in and say, yes, I'm interested in learning more, and then I will follow back up. And so sometimes I get responses back, those kind of things that seem to follow the same line of discussion that you're having. Does that?
Yeah, it is
Okay.
because what you're saying is they come to you and they ask about you've spoken to them about fundraising and you've sent an email and maybe you've not had anything back or they're not that interested or something to that effect. Is that am I getting that
Yes.
basically?
And again, I'm sorry, group. I don't want to monopolize the call, so I know that others on the call
Oh,
have examples. So I welcome the opportunity to share the mic with anyone on the call who has an example. But as not
yeah,
to have dead space, I'm willing to jump in and provide
no
an
problem.
example. But if
I was
someone else
looking
has
in the
another
chat
one,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. I tell you what, I'll give it a minute or two if somebody wants to get in the chat. I don't know if everybody's free to unmute if there's someone that wants to. Otherwise, I can start to put something together really quickly, just to make sure we use the time effectively.
yeah,
Is there
let's move
anyone?
forward.
Okay, no problem.
Another question for you:
Okay.
will you have time later to talk about effective prompting and keys to do a to make to develop and layer effective prompts?
I
Is
can
that something
definitely
that you
do
offer?
that. I can definitely do that. I've not put it in the 60 minutes, particularly. The only reason why is because I'm trying not to be too technical in this particular webinar. I've done webinars where we talked about prompting in particular, but the reason why I've kind of steered away from it a little bit is just because I know there might be some people that are not that technical, and I don't want to overly confuse them, but I'm very happy to do some talking about prompting. And the other thing as well is because sometimes that means learning a skill for some people, but for others, if you're actually building a system, you can actually have a system built where your focus is less on prompted because all the information is actually in there for you specifically. So once you say, which is what I'm literally going to show for you now. So actually, let me show because this answers your question. This answers your question quite well, actually. Can you see my chat GPT screen, or is it still the slides you see?
It's the slide.
Slide.
Slides. Okay, let's switch this over. I'm going to shut the chat down. Let me use a different example from your one, Eric, ever so slightly, just so that we can see, because I put this demo together actually. So this is Clarity Coaching follow-up email GPT. So what I've done is I've actually put into the GPT that this is a coaching company. They help people who are looking to they help people who are looking to change career, get another job. This person helps them coaching in terms of getting their CV up to scratch and so on. They sell a coaching package, and they this GPT says if somebody contacts you, this is how you can respond. So it's already got all the information about what the product is, who the ideal target is. In fact, what I might do is very briefly see if I can, let me see if it'll let me show you. I might, let's see. Da-da-da-da-da. In this part of the GPT, it shows a little bit about who it is you're trying to target. So this is what I've built in. It says you're not a salesperson, you're helping to make a decision. So these are the people you're targeting. Can you see that on the right of my on the left of my screen, right of my screen?
Yes.
And it talks about all the different things it's meant to do. So all of this has been kind of built in to the system. So then when I now go into the GPT and I say, write me an email, it's already got the information in there. So it knows who it's targeting, who it wants to talk to, why it wants to talk to them, what is the aim, what is the point of you talking to them, what products are you offering. So if I go in there now, so for example, in your case, Eric, for example, I would have already built in, for argument's sake, the kind of the aim is that it's to do with fundraising, and we're trying to get them to do to fund it, and we have different programs. These are the different levels of sponsorship, and so on and so forth. And the ideal person we need to talk to is maybe the head fundraiser or the person in charge of sponsorship or whatever. And this is why it's good for them, and so on and so forth. All of that is already built in. So when I now say write a follow-up email to someone who was interested but got very busy with work. With work, they promised to get in touch, but said they forgot. So maybe you bumped into them and they said, "Ah, I said I was going to get back to you, but I forgot. Got very busy with work." There we go. So because all of that information is already built into the system, rather than having to learn how to prompt to make that work, this has already got that information built in for them. So now this already knows what you're trying to offer, what you're trying to get them to do. And in this sense, it's not, particularly if you don't like to sell, this has been built to say, I'm not trying to sell it hard to you. Rather, I'm trying to help you make a decision based on the information. So it says, I'm reaching out because when people say they're interested but might forget, it's usually a sign that their career progression matters. It's just getting pushed behind urgent tasks. So this is all from those two sentences I've already put in the beginning. Plus, already built into this, and I'll show you this very, very quickly as well. Not only is this email there, I'm going to say, tell me about the psychology behind this email. And what it will actually do is it will say, this is why I've said what I've said. It removes defensiveness. So, in other words, I'm not attacking you. When people say they're interested, it generally gently reinforces that focus, which is their real problem, is their career. And then the cost of not taking action quickly. So you could say you're wasting your life, but you're not doing that. You're calmly highlighting time's going to pass. There's constructive tension. So even though you can be blunt in your heart, this is going to actually say, I'm going to adapt it so that it lands well with the client that you're talking to, and so on. So all of this has been considered, all of this has been considered before that email goes in there. All right. And then you can tweak it to be fear driven and so on and so forth. So I've got a question for you. How would that look if we built that for yourself? This can be built for any one of you, specifically bespoke for your own client. So even if you do tweak something, you might not have to do that because it comes out sounding like you almost on the first try. And that's where the time saving comes in. And that's where this could actually be more effective because sometimes you've got a result. Maybe you're writing something, but you're not necessarily seeing the result of what you've got with what you want to get done. And the AI tool knows what the result is that you want, and it kind of works towards that for you. Okay, we're going to do one more demo and then I'll be able to wrap this up and take any questions. I hope this is doing, I hope this is really being of benefit to you. I hope this is making sense. And I really hope that it's something that you can actually implement for yourself as well. Nali's asked, can you speak to how to use existing documents and email for this tool to help enhance a business plan or project, adding in files or websites? Very simply, in Claude, you actually can set up what's called a project. And a project is almost like a box, if you want to put it that way, where you put everything relating to one particular thing. So, for example, in your case, Eric, it would be like you'd have a project specifically for donors. So you'd have the emails that you've written that works very well for donors. You can upload that as a file into that project. You can actually put the information concerning donors, the persona, it all goes into one project. So when you're ready to send something to that donor or to any particular donor, it looks only at the projects for donors. Then you can have a separate project that is specifically for people that you want to have coming to a TC Band webinar for argument's sake. So that's a different project. So you can upload an email and say, this is how I want you to sound. This is the style that I want you to use to speak to other people because you know that style works or that style sounds like you. And you can even ask it to describe that style. And you'll say it's a warm personality, smart, it's kind of casual, but still professional. It's a bit of a hard sell. It makes them feel a bit uncomfortable, but that's a good thing because it pushes them towards what you're trying to sell. And you can see whether actually, if you allow it, you can actually hear it tell you, look, this isn't going to work for the result that you want because you might want it to be more persuasive, or you might want it to do so. So that's how those documents can hopefully work. And I can help with that if you want that on a bespoke basis. I can help put that together and show you how that works. So the tool doesn't matter, it's a system. I kind of have already said that quite a lot. I'm going to rush a little bit. Please write these down in your worksheets. I wanted to remind myself to make sure I asked you to do that, to make sure that you follow those steps in your own worksheet. So finally, marketing a system. Some of us can't really afford a marketing person, a copywriter, maybe a VA. Some of us might not be that good in putting those writing things together. You're trying your best. Maybe it's not necessarily getting you the results that you want, or maybe it's inconsistent. But if you had someone who knew your business, knew your tone, knew your services, your product range, your ideal type of clients, you could put all of those in, program those in. Okay. Now, I've kind of shown you that with um, the clarity coaching, although that is just for a follow up system. Okay. But what you could do, and which I will quickly do right now, is I'm going to actually build it to be a marketing assistant. And I'm going to show you how that works in real time. Um, oh, sorry. I'm just going to respond to what Karen said, who says, since I am British, you use words that are not familiar to me. Bespoke. Sorry. Bespoke simply means tailored to, personalized is probably a better way to say that. So, in other words, I'm using a demonstration right now that was for that particular kind of person or that particular kind of business or client. If I were to work with you, for example, Karen, what I would be doing is I'd be saying, who is your ideal client? Who are the clients you enjoy working with? Who are the clients you don't enjoy working with? Um, which kind of product seems to go down the best? Which one gets you the most kind of results? Why do you think that is? What kind of problems or pain points do your clients tend to tell you? All of these things are fed in so that the system that is created is unique to you. Somebody else wouldn't have that same kind of system because they've got a different kind of product range, a different kind of client. Their personality is different. So the way you talk to your customer and the way someone else talks to their customer is different. And even though there might be competition, it's very different. The same way McDonald's is very different from Burger King. And they might say they're fighting for the same kind of customer, but they're really not, in the sense that they don't have the same kind of product range. They don't have the same kind of price range. They're not necessarily offering the same kind of thing. There are some overlaps, but it's very different. So when I say bespoke, I'm just talking about it being specific and unique to you and your client. And because it's so unique, once you give it a command, it comes out pretty much perfect. And that allows you to kind of do things a lot more in terms of volume, and it allows you to talk to people and they feel that they are being spoken to on a very individual basis. So it's the difference between buying a dress off the rack or going to someone and they actually measure you and they tailor it to you specifically. The difference between those two is what you've got like now. You're buying it off the rack is what you've got with your AI tool right now, and then making it actually specific to your requirements and your kind of person. So it knows exactly what you want, or having going to a restaurant or having your own personal chef. Okay. So that's all it means, really. Okay. So apologies for any confusion there. So I hope that helps. Hope that makes sense. And I hope please do let me know if my Britishness gets in the way, because that's not my intention. I do want to make sure you fully understand what I'm talking about. So thanks for that, Cam. So as I was saying, what if someone knew your business, your tone, your ideal client, and worked for you 24/7, pretty much for free? That's what you can actually have. That's what we can actually build, and that's what could actually work. Now, one more try. Does anybody have a demo that they want me to put together, and I can put together a marketing assistant for them right now? Take a few minutes and do that. I appreciate time is fast spent, or I can just use a generic one that I've got right now. Yeah. Anyone? All right. Let's see. See something in the chat. Okay. Kimberly has to leave. Thanks, Kimberly. Okay. Let's do this then. I'm going to do this in about, let's see, we've got a short amount of time. So I'm going to do this in about 5 minutes or so, just so that you can see it work in real time. Okay. So you've got my chat GPT screen in front of you now. Yeah. So it says these are GPTs, and I'm going to move, sorry. So my things are a little bit in the way. I'm going to click here where it says create. I'm going to call this, I'm going to keep an eye on the time. I'm going to see if I can get this done in a few minutes. So, demo marketing assistant. Okay. And your personalized, I won't use bespoke, marketing assistant. So I'll use the same business that we had before. I run a skincare business for um, people with black skin. It takes care of acne, skin bumps, and helps and gets quick results, usually under 2 weeks. Okay. Our our product comes in at, I'll say, £10, and the larger jar at £15. And let's see, what can I say? Our tone is warm and professional. When asked to write content, always include a call to action to visit our website. If I were to put something together for you, there'd be a lot more detail. I'd ask you for a lot more information, and it would be a lot more specific. Okay. But that's the little we'll put in there for now. And I'm going to ask it to create that. I'll put that for me. Okay. Now, that's what we've created in just a few minutes. Okay. But let's see what it will actually do. Okay. So it's this is fairly basic information, but you'd want it, you can actually make it a one in all tool. So it can write your social media content, it can write your emails, it can have a follow up system, and so on and so forth. So I could say, write me a 150 word LinkedIn post. And because I've already told it the other information, that's kind of it's already started with me there. Okay, it kind of already has that information for me. And if I wanted to, I can even go further and say I need you to do me a content calendar. So that means content for the next 20 to 30 days, if I wanted to, for a whole month, because that's already built in. So I look at this and I can say it's really says what I want it to say. If it doesn't say it the way I want it to say it, I can actually tweak this and make it a bit more adaptable to the way I want it to sound. So that's already there. Visit our website today. All you need to do is add the website and so on. That can now, this assistant can also be now used for your emails and so on and so forth. Ask it for imagery that you want it to can create the imagery as well. All right. I appreciate time is fast spent. So I'm going to go to my site and quickly wrap this up so I can get to your questions. So then, done the demo on that. This only works well if you set it up right for your business. So the aim would be to set it up, as I said, for your particular business with your information in it and to actually make that. So now you can actually put that together yourself as best as you can. You might find that there's some trial and error, but what I think would be really good is for you to actually ensure that it works specifically for what you want and that somebody helps you put that together. You can use that your worksheet to put down your brief for your custom GPT. What you saw me put together there is called a custom GPT, a bespoke GPT, a personalized GPT. So it's not just the generalized chat GPT, but something very unique for that. And how you would describe your tone of voice could also go in your worksheet as well. So you can actually use that for yourself and get started if you'd like to. So I use example business. I would have loved it to be your example business, but you saw that put together in pretty much real time. But the real results will come when someone builds it around your business and your clients specifically for you and designed to have your voice in mind. Okay. And that can all work well. I put together a power hour. Okay. And what that is very simply a one-to-one Zoom call with you where you can actually have that discussion with me where it's built around your business, recorded so that you can rewatch it. Nobody's going to get the same session as you. Again, it's personalized because that way it actually settles for you exactly what you need to do, what the next steps are, and how you can actually make it worth your while for your own business to work effectively for you. So it's not a course. It's not a curriculum. You just bring your business. I show you the AI solutions around it live on the call, and we can fix some of your toughest problems together. Okay. So then, if you decide you'd like that, it would be £129. Okay. 170 US dollars. I think we might actually have some people from Canada as well. So I put a price there as well. It's actually slightly, they should be roughly around the same amount, no matter what you pay. I've got a couple of bonuses specifically if you were to get that in the next 48 hours, and they're very valuable bonuses that I've got for you. So if you would like to take advantage of that, I'm going to put this link for you in the chat. I know that we talked about somebody winning a free power hour, Eric, and I know you're going to get onto that, and I'm very happy to do that for someone. But for those of you that are here, for those of you that may not win, this is the link. I'm going to put this link in the chat for you as well, and get on to your questions very shortly. But thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate your time. If there's something you want me to address quite urgently that you feel I've not covered so far, or there's an example you want to see, do let me know. I'd love to go through it with you.